Do you love automation like I do? From automating Google Sheet around themselves, getting data from a website, pushing it somewhere else, automation from a Slack message up to my Google Sheets or my databases, emails. Zapier is a good start for most people. The problem with it, it's very expensive. There are other alternatives that I personally prefer because they're a bit more advanced, like Make, and also more affordable. Now, there's also entirely free alternatives. Today, I'm going to show you the one alternative that I love, NaN. NaN, in comparison to most other tools, is more towards coders and developers. However, the interface is very natural and easy to use. The advantage that it has is it's actually based on JavaScript as well. So you can also add extra node that is complete pure code if you want it to. But it's not just free. You can download the actual app for free and then host it on your own, on your computer or on a server. Today, we're going to see how we can host it ourselves. Hosting costs money. What kind of money are we talking about? What probably would cost you $150 or more on other automation platforms would probably just cost you here $5 or $7. Here we are on the NaN website. We can see that how it works compared if you're used to Zapier, for example, or the platforms, it's a little bit different. But it's way more, in my opinion, visual. So we have a webhook and then it rename some keys from the webhook and then Postgres, which is a database, or you can also send data to Google Sheet and then have an if function. If it's true, send a Slack message, or if it's not true, do something else. Now, there's two versions, NaN Cloud, which is basically $20 a month minimum, or self-hosted, which is exactly what we're going to see today, which basically is entirely free. We will go through it together. But again, if you don't want to have the hustle of creating it yourself and managing it, you can just use NaN Cloud. There are different platforms you can use to host NaN. I personally prefer DigitalOcean. I'll go through it with you on how we can set it up. So you'll need to sign up. I'm going to log into my existing account. So as you land on the page, you can see at the top left, I already have an account, but I can create a new project. Click here and say, build with Vince. If we go to the NaN documentation, there's a specific section around DigitalOcean. We're basically going to follow the steps together. So the first thing we want to do here is create a droplet. What a droplet is basically a virtual machine on a server. So you can actually launch it, not just from your computer, but from anywhere on Earth. So as we're here, we're going to go click and create a droplet. Now, one of the things that is mentioned is basically that way of creating it is through a Docker image. Docker image is a way to install their software NaN, okay? So first, we're going to create the server in a specific location. So this depends where you're located and the legal way from either your company or where you're at. So we're going to select London for us. This is important, by the way, as well for GDPR. In Marketplace, we're going to select Docker. We're going to install the Docker image. That's it. And then basic CPU. And so you can either go regular or premium. For most use cases, regular is okay, but I would say if you can, just go for premium AMD with $7. That will get you started and you can always upgrade. Then we're not going to need any extra volume. So how do you authenticate? SSH key is basically how to connect from your computer directly to their server through the console. Now, if you just use password, it's a different way to access it. So we're going to just use this time. And also because it's way simpler and recommend the options. So I do recommend as well to have these, add improved metrics and also the backups. I've used backups a couple of times because when you want to update, sometimes you might just break it. So backups for $1 a month, so $2 is always great. We only need one droplet and the name of the droplet is going to be build with Vince NaN. Name it whatever you want. And then no tags, we're just going to create the droplet. Now this is creating the droplet. If we go back to the documentation of NaN, we then have to go log into your droplet and through SSH, which we're not going to do. We're going to do it directly through the server. I'll show you how to. And then we're going to start basically creating the repository, creating the folders, all these different things. Droplet has been created. Perfect. Now you can see here when we are in the droplet is IPv4. So this is the server IP. So if I copy this and I go to my domain, so if I copy this IP, if I go to Google Domain DNS and a host name, I'm going to add an test, a name, and IPv4 address, as you've seen it earlier. We're just going to paste that. What this is going to do now is that means I can basically access eventually that domain directly from this address. Right. Now, the next step is to actually log into the droplet and access it. So there's a very simple way in DigitalOcean, which is what I love, is you can just click console and we now have access directly to the console itself. So we're in the root, and what we can start doing is copying the code from NaN, okay? Git clone. So this is cloning the code of NaN Docker. That's it, it's already done. Then we're changing the directory root. Paste that as well. So now we're basically going to this specific folder, and then we're going to go and create the volume. This whole thing is basically setting it up within the server. The setup, the DNS, we just did it earlier. So we're just going to open the port. I'll just do one by one line. Sudo allow, and then sudo allow the port. So it's basically accessible through external. And then I can just say, so we're going to quick configure the environment. What we want to do here is we want to make sure we have the domain name the same way as how we set it up in the DNS. Just the domain name, buildwithvince.com. And the subdomain we created was NaN test. So we're just going to say NaN test. There we go. We're going to keep everything the same, user and then password. We're going to change this to, well, actually just for the example here, I'm just going to say password 123. And for the SSL, you'll make sure to have an email, this to make sure that you have HTTPS. So we're just going to say Vince at family.com. Now you're going to go and say Control X. It will save it. It will ask you, do you want to save? You say yes, and then press enter. Then we're going to have the Docker compo file. So we're just going to paste that. And here again, I don't think there's anything we want to change here. Like we're basically having some image created, we started, ports that are open that we opened earlier, the volumes, we created NaN, always, port, all of this. That's it. All you got to do is say Control X for exit, and that's finished. Then we're going to go do the same for Candy, but Candy is basically the proxy. The only thing we need to change is again the domain. So it's an NaN test and then build with vince.com. To make sure the proxy works. There you go. Then we say Control X to exit. And yes, we save Y and then enter again. Getting there, almost finished, guys. Start Docker Compose. So now we're basically setting it up. This will take some time. All right, so this is created. Now I'm going to NaN test build as Vince, though the password I think was user, and then it was password 123. Sign in. We've now created the whole account. You can here set up your own account, which I do recommend you do. This is how now it looks like. You can create your own event. So let's say, oh, I'm receiving an Airtable on new event on Airtable, create some automations. Not only can you do this, you can also go into use templates. And when you use templates, basically, let's say I want to create a flow for Gmail, manage attendee registrations. You can just use that one. And you can just use this workflow, loads of templates, and it's basically there. Then you have to set everything up, like create your credentials, etc. But there's a lot of things there, including what I was telling you earlier about using your own JavaScript. What that means, even if you're not a coder, you can ask a developer to help you out into creating things that might be a bit more complex. You can also use GPT-4 to help you actually create some of those nodes that you wouldn't be able to do on any other platforms.